Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of a new Trekkie. My 5-year mission to search out Star Trek media, to seek out our fans and merchandise, to boldly go where no fan has gone before.
Greetings and salutations. Welcome back to us talking about the Star Trek animated series. In this case, looking at the episode Yesteryear. And in this case, the episode was also written by Star Trek veteran DC Fontana. But what happened in this episode of the show? Well, in this episode, the Enterprise First Class Mr. Spock must travel back in time to his childhood and keep his younger self from dying and being replaced by an Andorian on his ship.
Be treated with respect.
Captain, I assure you no one has ever treated me otherwise.
Who are you?
Well, I thought sure you'd know Thalen by now, Jim. He's been your first officer for 5 years.
Honestly, I gotta say this one was pretty good, in the fact that this one was more of a personal episode, and not like personal to the actor, but personal in the fact this one is more geared towards Spock, and that we go back to his childhood. And honestly, like, say when it comes to like Trek, I'll be honest, like, say I didn't really know that like, I mean, not like, in the show that Spock was like, had a human mother and a Vulcan father. But I don't really remember in the TOS if when they already had that interaction of like young Spock in the show.
Father brought shame to Vulcan. He married a human. You haven't even mastered a simple Vulcan neck pinch yet, Earther.
But this is the first time they ever did, before it would come back many years later in 2009 for the J.J. Abrams one, where young Spock gets into a fight with other Vulcans.
He's a traitor, you know. Your father, for marrying her, that human whore.
And honestly, I gotta say this episode is pretty great. I think the animation for it, I mean, then again, it has the same animation style as the previous episode, but it does its job pretty well. And honestly, I gotta say the creature, basically, like, that Spock has, it's like a pet, it's almost like a giant cat creature.
Or I can release him from life. I will need your decision. He is your pet.
Release him. It is fitting he dies with peace and dignity.
And honestly, like, in this episode, like, Spock is supposed to go back to try to save himself from he's basically going to go back to successfully do a Vulcan, like a Vulcan test.
Affection in his son. Spock will find his way.
I hope so. I respect Vulcan and all its traditions, but it is a demanding life.
In a way, and yeah. And I gotta say, it's pretty cool, like, see, like, what would happen in a world, like, what if Spock didn't exist? That's actually a pretty cool idea, and also, in a way, I feel like, in a world, like, with like, if that had happened in the original, like, run of TOS, that'd be a pretty cool, interesting story. Like, what would the storylines be? What would the character interactions be with others? Would there be a difference? How much of history would have changed? Honestly. And I gotta say, it's also pretty cool in the fact that you got Mark Leonard, who also plays Sarek. And I gotta say that Billy Simpson, who plays young Spock, he does a pretty good job. So, I mean, overall, I gotta say, this little episode of the animated series does a pretty good job. And this episode also got nominated for a Daytime Emmy Award. Which is honestly pretty cool. So, I'll see you next time. See you later.